District 107. Thank you for joining us this morning to talk about how we can build safer communities by ending the epidemic of gun violence. Like too many families in Georgia and across our country, I've experienced gun violence firsthand. From being part of the generation of active shooter drills in school, to violent attacks against my family members and friends by armed assailants, to the March 16 shooting that took the lives of 8 Georgians 3 years ago, including 6 Asian women. Enough is enough. I'm tired of the pain and violence, the fear and heartbreak. The status quo is unacceptable, which is why my legislative colleagues and I, by the power of the vote, are doing all we can to end the epidemic of gun violence that has become the #1 cause of death of American children. Here in Georgia, we've introduced many common sense gun safety measures such as universal background checks, a 3 to 5 day waiting period, and a tax credit for pediatric safe storage units for guns. The Republican majority in Georgia that is beholden to Trump, the NRA, and extremists unfortunately have repeatedly failed Georgians, not only by their inaction, but because they continue to pour fuel on the fire with their systemic efforts to weaken gun safety laws here in Georgia. That's why families across this state are worried that if Trump and MAGA Republicans are elected, the epidemic of gun violence will only get worse. I'm also deeply concerned that a second Donald Trump term would mean what that would mean for the safety of my community, especially after he used racist, anti-Asian rhetoric and scaped Asian Americans for his failures during the pandemic that ended up taking the lives of more than 1 million Americans. Just this weekend, Trump cozied up to the NRA once again and sold out our kids safely. Under Trump, we saw the largest increase in murders in U.S. history. Trump and his administration, they've opposed common sense gun safety measures like a federal assault weapons ban in order to appease the NRA. Trump has rolled back regulations designed to keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people, and he's encouraged concealed carry in classrooms. Here in Georgia, Republicans made it easier for criminals to carry concealed weapons. They've passed laws to allow guns to be carried on college campuses, and they even tried to make it legal to carry a gun in places of worship like churches, mosques, and synagogues, which thankfully we stopped. Not only is the Trump and the NRA extreme agenda dangerous, it is wildly out of step with the vast majority of Americans and Georgians. Nearly 9 in 10 Americans support President Trump's proposal to require universal background checks for all gun sales, and nearly 2/3 support his proposal to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. Trump and his allies oppose common sense gun safety reforms, and it's Georgians and our communities who are paying for it. In stark contrast, President Biden and Democrats have taken on the gun lobby and won. President Biden signed the most significant federal bipartisan gun safety legislation in nearly 30 years, which includes the first ever federal gun trafficking prevention law and takes on gun dealers. President Biden has closed loopholes in our background check system, and he has established the first ever White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. President Biden and Democrats recognize that there is much more work to do, which is why he's pushing Congress to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. Our community knows how desperately we need common sense gun safety. As one of 5 Asian American lawmakers during the March 16th shooting, and as a Georgia native, we prioritize the victims and their families amidst the trauma and gave voice to the fear and the pain of our community. President Biden came to Georgia shortly afterwards to talk with us. Along with Vice President Kamala Harris, they came and encouraged us to be strong for our communities. The president felt our pain and got to work, passing historic gun safety measures to keep Georgians safe, as well as the bipartisan Hate Crimes Act. What have Republicans done since then? Nothing but turn a blind eye. The choice is clear. This November, by the power of the vote, Georgians have the ability to take meaningful steps to protect our communities from gun violence by electing Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Democrats up and down the ticket who will do all they can to save lives, stop gun violence in our communities, and build safer communities for all. Thank you, and with that, I will pass it now to Representative Farouk Mubarak.